Hello, everyone. How are you out there this evening? This is Dr. B from Steps to the Future coming to you with this edition of C3. So, for those of you who have been following along and watching videos here and there, I've done a little name change. So, it's C3. So, I'm really looking at focusing on career awareness, career development, and career exploration. Because regardless of whether you go to a 4-year school, a 2-year technical school, have an apprenticeship or what have you, we're all going to work. So I think it's really important that students have the opportunity to learn about different careers. And tonight we're going to hear about a change in an educational plan a young man made that is working out for him. But before we do that, let me do a little public service announcement. So right now we have a lot of students that are applying to 4-year colleges. We just had a big deadline, November 1st, early deadline, and we have another one coming up November 15th. And one of the things I noticed as I'm working with students this year is really talking to them about their extracurricular activities. Like, what kind of things are you doing outside of the classroom that's not necessarily about academics? How are you expanding your knowledge, expanding your skills, learning new talents, or what have you? So I want people to start thinking about, well, how am I going to spend my summer? I know, it's not even Thanksgiving yet, haven't even made it to Christmas, but I want people to think about, students in particular, how am I going to spend my summer? Now, you may already have summer plans, but I'm just going to put some options out there. So for the next couple of months, the next couple of weeks, no, a couple of months probably, I am going to introduce you to some summer opportunities. So let me just share one of them with you now. Okay, so let me go here. So again, so this is a program at Lees McRae College, which is in Banner Elk, North Carolina. This is a great program for students who are thinking about maybe wanting to be a vet or to go into some kind of animal science or some kind of environmental field. So this is a wildlife science summer program, and you will spend time on the campus, Lees McRae campus, where you will learn about all kinds of different things dealing with ecology, biology. You'll also have an experience at their May Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. So again, this is something that I hope that think about it. Is this something that you're interested in? And here's the URL. So it's Lees McRae College. So please make sure, keep that in mind. Another summer opportunity for students. This is one that is, oops, that's not the one I wanted to show you. Excuse me. This is one that is being offered by Stevens College, which is in New York. So this is actually pretty cool because this is a virtual one. Let me move this screen up a little bit more so you can see this. So this is a virtual one. This is geared toward high school juniors. So are you a high school junior interested in business? Here's the amazing thing. This is a paid virtual summer research program. It's about 6 weeks long, and you'll get some information about entrepreneurship, marketing, management, economics, and finance. This application opens up next Tuesday, November 15th. So if you are interested in this, please make sure you check it out. If you know someone else that may be interested in it, pass it on to them. So I just want you to think about that. And one more summer opportunity. This magazine, Teen Life, this website actually does a really great job of looking at different summer programs that students may have the opportunity to take part in. So it has a lot of summer programs for teens. So you can go through here, look and see what's happening. But remember, there are all these other opportunities out there that don't cost you anything. For example, I think it's important that you think about, I always tell my students that are interested in maybe a medical career or what have you. Um, have you learned CPR? You can do a course through the American Red Cross and learn CPR. That's a great thing to do if you're interested in some kind of medical field. So those are the public service announcements for tonight. I just wanted to make sure that people had an opportunity to think about what they're going to do for their summers. Um, and we're going to be coming back in a couple of minutes, not even a couple of minutes, 9 seconds. And we'll have our guest with us this evening. And I am just thrilled that he is here. And I can't wait to have you hear his story because I think it's important for young folks to understand um, that there are alternatives and there's not one way to do something. So we'll be back 10 seconds. Okay, and we are back. I am so thrilled that we have this young man here with us this evening, Carlos Villarreal. And folks, remember, if you want to get in on the conversation, just make sure you put your comment in the chat, and we'll make sure you get become part of this conversation. So, Carlos, before we begin, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I just had finished. I got home from the gym and ate dinner just before this. So
That's
feeling good.
great. That's great. So I don't know if you remember, well, I don't know if I started this when I was working with you, but I always like to ask folks when I'm talking to them, what are you grateful for today?
I do remember that, and I actually took it to heart. And now every day before I go to bed, I think about it. And I used to try to list off everything, but after a while, like just living in the U.S. and being having all these resources just available to any time. For example, I go to the grocery store and there's always fresh fruits and stuff. I had a saying, and I just say I'm grateful for my life and everything about it. That's just what
That
I
is
say before
so
I go to
good.
bed.
Oh, I'm thrilled to hear that. I'm
So
thrilled to hear that. So, and what are you doing for self-care? How are you taking care of yourself? Because, we're living in a world now where there's a lot of stress and people need to make sure that they're looking after their mental health, their physical health, their spiritual health. So, how are you taking care of yourself?
yeah, for sure. So I've always played, as you know, I've been an athlete my whole life, and so once I stopped playing soccer, post high school, I began weightlifting, going to the gym, doing a bodybuilding split, if you will.
Okay.
So that's one thing I do. I also eat relatively well. I eat healthy in general. I cook a lot at my house. My mother bought me an air fryer once I moved into my
Yay.
own apartment, so I use that an extreme amount. I eat a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, and yeah, so I just eat healthy and take care of my body. And I've always like thought this, but physical health is mental health.
That
So
is so true. That is so true. I love it that you're doing, out in the gym working out.
yeah,
I don't know. I know. I wasn't doing this when I was working with you, but I started going to the gym. I want to say back in April or May and have this wonderful personal trainer, Samantha, at the fitness studio downtown. And we do strength training and she kicks my butt. I will tell you that. So
yeah,
I haven't been there all week because I've had the flu. So I'm going back tomorrow. And Samantha, I don't know if you hear this or not, but please be easy on me because it's gonna be a little tough being out there. Haven't lifted those weights in a while and did all that stuff. So for the folks so I had the opportunity to work with Carlos when he was in high school. So he is a 2020 graduate, 2020, right? Is it
yes, ma'am.
2020? Yeah, 2020 graduate of Pine Forest High School, which is here in Cumberland County in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Um, so we did the whole thing where we looked at colleges. Carlos got to visit colleges. Did a lot of thinking about what he wanted to do. And recently, I reached out to some of my former students and said, "Hey, would you like to come back and let people know where you are in your journey right now?" And I was a little surprised when I heard Carlos's news, but at the same time, I was so proud of him because he's doing what's right for him. But I'm not going to sit here and talk about it because I really want you to hear from Carlos. So Carlos, let's just start out a little bit with your high school journey.
Right. So like you said, I went to Pine Forest High School for all 4 years. From Pine Forest, my junior, I think the end of my sophomore year, I was introduced to Dr. B by my mother, and I began working with her, and I narrowed my college decision down to three colleges, all in state North Carolina for tuition reasons. Those being NC State, Appalachian State, and UNCW. I kind of consider UNC Chapel Hill, but I visited. I just didn't like the campus that much. So yeah, in high school, and even now, I still have a great passion and affinity for working with animals. And so in high school, me and Dr. B had narrowed down majors and possible career paths, and I decided I want to do zoology. And so with that, I applied to NC State for zoology major, Appalachian State for bio, and UNCW. I did marine biology because I was like, it's close enough to zoology. So yeah, once that happened, I got accepted to App State and UNCW fully, but NC State, which was my number one choice college, rejected me for uh, the fall 2020 semester, so like my first semester of college, and instead accepted me for the spring 2020 semester or 2021 semester. And so with that news, I decided in the end to go to UNCW. I didn't like Appalachian State because it was just too much in the mountains. I just didn't like the area. And then for NC State, looking back, I kind of regret my choice. I wish I would have maybe possibly gone to state, but I just didn't want to stay another 6 months in Fayetteville personally. I wanted to like you just move on with college and get on with my life basically.
So,
Um,
Carlos, can I stop you there for a second?
yeah,
So, folks, let me explain to you what Carlos is talking about. So, what's been happening, and this isn't a new thing, but what we're seeing sometimes is when students put in their applications and colleges are making their decisions, they have choices. They can admit a student, they can defer a student to regular decision, or they can put them on the wait list, or they can flat out deny them. One of the things that we've been seeing quite a bit is colleges will offer students opportunities to start at times other than the fall semester. So sometimes they may offer them a summer start, sometimes they may offer them a spring start, um, which isn't which when you're still going to have the degree from the school. But like Carlos said, for him it meant he was ready to like hit the road in the fall, and wanted to start at a 4-year college. So just so people understand, that's what that's about. That's not about, it had nothing to do with him not being a viable candidate and what have you. If he wasn't a viable candidate, they would have denied him. They would have given him the option to come in the spring. And that's something that you're going to see at quite a few colleges. It is not new. It's part of an enrollment strategy that the colleges are using. So just wanted to clear that up for people who don't know about that. Thank you,
right.
Carlos, for bringing that up.
And now that you mentioned that, I just remembered NC State had waitlisted me, and then they offered me spring decision. It was something like that. It was
Yeah.
very delayed. It was not. I think I was told by like almost June that they had accepted me for the spring and not the fall
Okay.
semester. Um, so yeah, that's my story out of high school. Um, and the reason I chose UNCW, I guess, like I said, I didn't want to go to state. I mean, I didn't want to go to App, and NC State had kind of pushed me to the side. So I decided UNCW to do marine biology. I looked at the program, had done a lot of research on the program, and I was very much, still enthusiastic about my opportunities at UNCW. Unfortunately, though, I never did get to visit the campus before moving in as a freshman due to COVID. So yeah, so I have my notes here. So I chose a marine bio major, like I said, because I wanted to work with animals at some point, and it was close enough to zoology for me. Um, and so with that, though, as I began working towards my major, about 2 semesters in, I did a lot more research on the field and realized it was a lot more lab work than it was working physically with animals. And to me, that just wasn't acceptable. I really wanted to be hands on with animals, doing a lot of field work. And with the marine bio major, most jobs related to that was going to be a lot of lab work. And the only field work you could do was you would need grants or some type of government funding. And so, in my research, it was essentially summarized that being a marine biologist was a lot of lab work and a lot of writing grant requests. So I just didn't want to do that. So instead, I started looking towards the business field because I also had an affinity towards um, interacting with people, any type of business. I just like talking to people, so I chose business. So I changed my major to international business, which honestly, quite frankly, if I'm gonna be honest, I really didn't know what that meant. That just sounded cool, and it had really good study abroad opportunities that I was interested in.
Okay.
So yeah, I did this international business major change. I did a semester for that, and then while I was doing international business, I had an economics professor named Dr. Soquist here at UNCW, and it was micro econ the second economics class, you'd say. I think it's micro.
Okay.
And um, yeah, I don't know why, but me and him had a great relationship, and he just opened my eyes to the field of economics, and it was very interesting. I took a few economics class in high school, um, and yeah, I was really intrigued with economics. Just made sense. It was like almost like perfect math to me. It was a mix between numbers and people and like human psychology, and I really enjoyed that. But while I was in that class, he also introduced me to a possible career path called an environmental economist. And essentially, what that is an economist who works with the end goal of also using economics to help the environment. And being that I really enjoy working with animals and things like that, I also have an affinity towards the environment. And so, yeah, halfway through my, I want to say, fall 2021 semester, I changed my major completely from international business to a double major in economics and environmental science,
Okay.
with the hopes of one day becoming an environmental economist. So as I continue with that, I'm trying to remember. Sorry, it's like
So, no, that's okay, Carlos. So a quick question here. So while you were making these changes and thinking about it, who were you having conversations with about the choices you were making?
right. So really, I was talking to my father, my mother, and my guidance counselor at UNCW, my academic advisor. Um, Quite frankly, I don't want to bash UNCW or anything, but the getting in touch with my academic advisor was a bit of a struggle at times. So it just took a lot of um, personal research going on the internet and trying to find who I have to talk to at UNCW, making phone calls. Um, and once I got, because the thing is, when you're a freshman, your academic advisor is kind of hands off because there's just so many students like switching, changing. But
Okay.
once I became a sophomore, it was a lot easier to get in touch with my academic advisor, and I actually like created a personal relationship with her. She like knew me by name, and she would check up on me and make sure that I was okay with my major.
Okay.
So that's what I was discussing with as well. And then I can't remember. There was I think one other person from UNCW. Like I'm not sure what their title was, but their basically I guess their job was to make sure that students were not only choosing majors but had a career path in mind, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So I
Mm-hmm.
talked to them as well. So yeah.
Okay. So, folks that are just joining in or listening in, we're here with Carlos Villarreal, who is a 2020 graduate of Pine Forest High School here in Cumberland County in Fayetteville. And he's giving us his story of his educational journey. So, again, remember now, he started his first year of college during COVID, at the height of COVID. Graduated when COVID was first starting to hit, and then started his first year of college during the pandemic. So that might have a little something to do with, I know, that hindered you sometimes visiting campuses because, things were closed up. So you had to really rely on a lot of virtual stuff. So folks, if you have any questions or comments, please join in the conversation. So Carlos, continue on. Let us know.
Yeah, and since you said that about COVID, it did in fact have a very large effect on my college experience, and everything from social life to academics to just like even the way we lived at UNCW. There was a lot of regulations and things that you could and couldn't do. Um, but yes, like I was saying, in my fall 2021 semester, I had changed my majors completely around, I think, September time. But going back to the summer of 2021, I was in Fayetteville living with my mother, and we have a close family friend who owns an HVAC company in Fayetteville called Air Pro. His name is Javier Ortiz, um, and I had a few conversations with him over the summer. And at one point, he sat me down and he was like, "So, what are you doing in college?" And I explained to him. At the time, I was an international business major and I had no clue what I was doing. I was just kind of winging it. Um, and so it's like, "What are you doing with college?" And I was like, "Well, I'm doing business, blah blah. Hopefully, I can, I don't know, get a job when I graduate." And he was like, "Oh, okay. Well, have you ever thought about the trades or doing anything like, electrician, um, HVAC technician, plumber, anything like that?" And at the time, and I'm sure as most college students who want to go to a 4 year, there's kind of a stigma against tradesmen, as it's kind of like a lower class, or like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like you don't want to be that person, I guess.
Well, that's because we've all bought into, and as much as you folks know what I do. I work with students on helping them with the college journey. But it is so important that students know that they have options besides college. And what Carlos is trying to say is there is a stigma about community college. People consider it less than. There are comments about, oh, you must not be smart enough to go to a 4 year college. And really, going to a community college is great economically. If you choose to go into the trades, it's a great place to go to learn a trade. So I understand what you're talking about, Carlos, and this isn't new. This has been around for years, and we're hoping that it's slightly changing a little bit. It's starting to move, but probably not as much as it needs to.
Yeah. So like I said, I was having a lot of conversation with him, and he sat me down, and he kind of explained to me, and he gave me a few examples. He himself is very successful with his business now, and he has, at the time, he literally, I remember this very vividly, because he told me, like, how he started his business, blah blah, and has become very successful. And he was like, I have a friend who I believe he said he was an electrician or a plumber, one of the two. It wasn't HVAC though; it was one of the other trades. And he had started, as a normal technician working for somebody, blah blah, and with enough experience. Sorry to say blah blah. I was with enough experience, he decided to go out on his own. But before that, he consulted Mr. Javier Ortiz and was like, "What do you think, man? You went out on your own. Um, how was it for you?" And long story short, this dude went on his own and is now very successful as well. And at the time, Mr. Ortiz literally called him up and had him tell me his story. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that was very convincing. At the time, I still wasn't 100% convinced, because I was like, well, that's cool and all, but I want to get a 4 year degree. I want to make my parents proud. Be a first generation American college graduate in my family and all this other stuff. Um, but going fast forward again, the fall 2021 semester, I changed my major. This time it's October. I remember I had just turned 19, and I was very much, I don't want to say lost, but I wasn't really happy with college. I wasn't really satisfied with, um, I was satisfied with the career path that I was going to possibly put into, environmental economist, but at the end of the day, financially, it wouldn't have been very smart to continue that career, given that I'd more than likely need a doctor's degree to do what I want to do.
Mm.
Um, and just financially, with how much it pays and all the debt I would have to go into for school, for that, it just didn't make sense. So I started trying to look at either different majors, and I remembered all my conversation with Mr. Ortiz over the summer, and I was like, well, let me check out trade school. And so I did. I started looking at it, and yeah, and then by November, I had fully committed to the decision that I was going to drop out of college or unenroll out of college and pursue a career in the trades. And one day, hopefully, like Mr. Ortiz, open up my own HVAC company.
Okay. That is, that's quite a journey. And I hope people are listening to this because it's important. So, Carlos said, when he was 19, he was still feeling lost and stuff. So it is so important, young folks, for you to understand that You don't have to pick a major. You don't have to decide your life's career at 17, 18, 19 years old. You're still out there trying to learn, trying to experience the world, trying to expand your horizons. So again, don't get so caught up in thinking about, oh, I've got to major in this, I've got to do that. And then I know also, Carlos, you, like you said, you were really concerned about making your parents proud because that's this, you and your parents, you guys have such a great relationship. So I know that was important to you. So, so what did your mom say? What did your
Yeah.
parents say?
So, um, that's what I'm really gonna get into it because, well, yeah, like you said, at 19, I was about to be a second semester sophomore in college at 19 years old, and I still was very much lost as to what I wanted to do. The only thing I was looking forward to at that point in college was the possible idea of just traveling abroad for international, for study abroad. Yeah, but yeah, so my dad, quite honestly, because I explained to him why I wanted to drop out of high school, and I explained to him my plan and how I was going to do it, and he was like, "Well, I mean, I'm not going to tell you no. I'm currently funded through university by his GI Bill, which is military funding. So he was like, I gave it to you for a reason. You have the resources you need. If this is your decision, I support it completely. And yeah, my mom, she was not as enthusiastic. She was very much confused as to why I wanted to drop out because at the time I was doing very well. I had a 3.8
Mm,
GPA. I think I had one B in my entire time in college, and it was in calculus. Um, and So yeah, she was very much confused as to why I wanted to drop out. She was just didn't really understand it, and she wasn't happy with the main reason me dropping out was because I wanted a more secure financial future. Essentially, is how I put it to her and my father. Um, so yeah, and even to this day, and it's been almost a year and a half since that conversation. Or no, we're in 2020. Okay, so yeah, like it's been a year at this point since I dropped out of school, um, and she still doesn't fully support it. She still has her doubts, and that's reasonable. But quite frankly, when she gives me her doubts, I kind of, as bad as it sounds, I tune out because I believe heavily in manifestation, or at least if you believe it, it'll happen at some point if you work hard enough. And I just don't need to hear. I just don't like hearing like being told you won't be able to do it or you're not going to like it. If that
yeah.
makes sense.
Well, knowing your mom, she always wants the best for you. She
Yeah, no doubt.
always wants the best for you, and as parents, um, yeah, we don't always sometimes see our kids' vision and their pathway, but I know she's there behind you 100% in
Of
in
course.
her way, and that's important. So tell me about the program that you're in. How did you navigate to this new program? First of all, tell people where you are and what the name of the program is.
Right. So I'm still in Wilmington at this point. I transferred from UNCW to Cape Fear Community College here in Wilmington. It is I think the technical term is heating, air conditioning, ventilation, refrigeration technical diploma.
Okay.
And essentially it's a certificate or diploma that you get after graduating. So when I my in November of 20 October November of 2021, I began looking at possible trade schools that I could go to. The ones I had narrowed down were Wake Tech in Raleigh, Fayetteville Tech in Fayetteville, obviously, and Cape Fear here in Wilmington. And so the Wake Tech and Fayetteville Tech programs were 2 years, and it was basically an associate's degree. And then the program here in Wilmington, they have two. They have the diploma, which is only a year, 3 semesters back to back, and then there's a 2 year associate's degree, which is 4 semesters, 2 years, over 2 years.
Okay.
Um, and I essentially narrowed them down. First of all, I literally went to the curriculum for all of them, and like for Wake Tech, I looked at it. I wrote down all the classes word for word what they'd be. I went to Fayetteville Tech, wrote down all the classes. Cape Fear wrote down all the classes. Then I compared all the classes, and they were essentially all the same. The only difference was the Cape Fear was only a year, and the other two were 2 years. So then
Okay.
after that, luckily I still have contact with Mr. Ortiz. So I contacted him. Was like, look, so I'm looking at thinking of dropping out, going to trade school. Here are the trade school options. Which do you suggest for, what you do? And he said, um, he didn't really see the need for me to get an associate. He said the 1 year Cape Fear diploma would be good enough. And
Okay.
so that I was like, okay, and that's what so here I am. And I began at Cape Fear Community College January of 2022 this year. I
Okay.
did the spring semester. I did the fall semester, which started June, ended in August, and I'm about to finish the fall semester again, December 15th, and then I have my diploma and I can begin working.
Okay. You know what I love that you talked about that you did? You did your research.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, I'm always talking to kids. They'll say, "Well, I want to take this class, and or I want to do this major," and I'll say, "Okay, so what's the difference between taking that at this school versus this school?" And they go, "Well, how do I know that?" I said, "Let's go to the curriculum. They list out the 4-year curriculum," and sometimes I think they find it tedious. But I love what you did. You got all 3 of the curriculums, and you showed it to a professional in the field
Mm-hmm.
and said, "Okay, you've been doing this for a number of years. Which one would you pick?" I love it that you had that person, that you had Mr. Ortiz to go back to. So, Mr. Ortiz, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Uh, because
Very.
it's so nice being able to have somebody to help guide you. So it's not like you just made a decision and just said, "Yeah, well, I'm already in Wilmington, so I'm just going to stay in Wilmington."
Yeah.
Um, I like that you did your research. So tell me, so what was the first semester like?
So the first, the first semester was, it was very weird. I walked in the first day. I didn't know what to wear because trade school, so I was assuming we were going to be working with our hands. And the first semester, we really didn't even get into working with our hands or working on any machines until like probably the second or third week of school. Um, and it was pretty much like the way our class is set up. So I go in for about 50 minutes to an hour, first class of the day, depending on the time, obviously. And then we go in for a lecture, essentially. And we would
Okay.
lecture, and then from there, we take like a 10-minute break, and we go to the lab. And essentially, what the lab is imagine like probably like a 4,000 square foot space with just heating and air units lining the walls in the middle of the room and stuff. And we'd go in the lab and do lab work. So, lab work includes everything from learning how to braze, which is essentially welding, to the electrical components of a unit, to the refrigeration components, to pretty much anything. So it was the hands-on part of the class. So we'd go lecture, and then from the lecture, we'd take what we just lectured about and go work on it hands-on in the lab. So that's what the classes were like. It was very much a shock, um, especially the students that were there with me. I thought they were going to be very much different group of people, but one of my good friends in that class now, he's also a UNCW dropout. Well, sorry, not a dropout. He unenrolled as well. Um, he was I think he said he was a junior at the time,
Wow.
first semester junior. He unenrolled for financial reasons. He said he was in a lot of debt, and the career path he was going towards wasn't going to pay it off, and he just didn't see the reason of staying in university. Another student, he's a 24-year-old veteran. Um, Another student, he came straight out of high school, and then one of my other close friends in that class, he did IT school, so he graduated college, did an IT program. I'm not sure. Graduated high school, did an IT program. I'm not sure if it was online or at another community college. Decided that he didn't really want to do that, and then now he's in trade school and he already has a job and stuff. He has a job lined up, so when he graduates, he's just literally just gonna instead of part time, he's gonna go full time.
That's great. That's
Yeah, so
great.
the student body was very much a combination of a lot of people, a lot of unexpected people.
Okay. So it wasn't your typical 17 to 18-year-olds in the class.
Exactly. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, so you got an opportunity to be in class with people that come from different walks of life, different life experiences,
Exactly. Yeah.
um, who are all there for reasons that work for them.
Mm,
That work for them. So,
exactly.
what are you most looking forward to when you finish up your certificate?
Right. So when I finish, which is in think 4 or 5 weeks at this point.
Yay.
The main thing I'm looking forward to is honestly becoming like I guess an official adult and not having to. I can go to tell people I do this. Like I'm in a career. I'm a professional. Um, so that I guess the maturity that comes with being an adult and having your own job and stuff. The pay, obviously, um, financial freedom in a sense,
Okay.
and I guess a sense of purpose that you're working towards something. Because, like I said, like yes, I'm in this career now, but I hopefully want to own my own business one day. And so every day once I start working is going to be just working towards um, my goals of owning my own company.
All right. All right. That's pretty cool. And
Yeah,
just for a quick second, folks, I'm going to share with you this screen so we can see. So this is actually the program that Carlos is in. So if anybody
yeah,
wants to check it out, it's at Cape Fear Community College. It's air conditioning, heating, and refrigeration technology. And as you go through the site, there is about a minute and a half video that I watched earlier. That's pretty good. And you can see that there's programming for high school students. There's programming where you can get a certificate or programming where you can get a diploma. So you have choices. So again, if anyone, whatever you're doing, whether you're thinking about, 4-year, 2-year trade school, please do what Carlos did. Do your research. Do your research. I mean, he looked at those three curricula at those various community colleges, got the opinion of a professional, and made a decision that works for him. So again, Carlos, this couldn't have come, at a better time because, like I said, students now, seniors now are in the middle of application season, um, second guessing themselves. Are they doing the right thing? What's out there? Um, but what I think I like about your story is letting them know that it's okay to change
yeah,
your mind. It's okay. You don't feel like, okay, I said I'm going to major in this, or I said I'm going to do this, so now I'm stuck. You're not stuck. You're stuck if I can't imagine going to work every day doing something that you're really not enjoying, or being in an environment that you're really not enjoying. So earlier, before we went on, you were just talking a little bit without going into a lot of details. You were just talking about the social atmosphere at
yeah.
college for you, and what have you, and how that wasn't necessarily a good fit for you. So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so and like I said, my college experience was very much different from the average because of COVID. But in general, to me, college and the people I was around, it felt a lot like high school all over again, just high school plus 3 years of age. There was a lot of similar dramas and stuff that just to me didn't make a lot of sense. We're all essentially adults at this point. Um, and just the college lifestyle, all of that to me just wasn't very appealing. Um, and I just didn't enjoy the social aspect or the I guess the I don't know how to the social environment at this university particularly.
Okay.
So that was another big reason I decided to drop out because I was like I don't really because some people might do all 4 years, and a large part of that is because they want to get the full college experience. But
Hmm.
for me, after about a year, my freshman year, I I had felt that I had got all the college experience that I wanted or slash needed. And so I decided that if I'm not going to stay in university for the education or the career paths it provided, I'm not going to stay for the social or sorry, let me rephrase that. I didn't want to be in university because I didn't feel the um, education was necessary for me or the career paths provided with that education were appealing to me. And I definitely didn't enjoy the social aspect of this university. I didn't really see a point in staying. That's also another reason I decided to drop out, if that makes sense.
Okay. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. And that's why, when we're talking with students, school counselors are talking with their students, independent educational consultants are talking with their students, and anybody that's working with students who are looking to go on to post-secondary education. It's talking to them not just about that academic fit and that financial fit, which is becoming even more important, but that social fit, because if you're on that campus and you're just not feeling it, it's very hard to just go to class and then go back to your room and not be a part of the social fabric of the school. That is an important part of it. So I'm glad that you were able to articulate what it was you were feeling about that. So students, again, when you're out there doing your research, and like Carlos said, when he was doing his research, I mean, it was in the middle of COVID, so you couldn't really visit the college, and you do learn. I've actually you learn a lot more online now than you did then, because every college has really improved their virtual offerings.
Yeah,
But not being able to be on the campus, not being able to get a preview of what it might be like socially probably was difficult. So folks, when you're out there making those college visits and stuff, remember that that social fit is just as important. It's just as important. So find ways, you're listening to the tour guide as you're visiting the campus, but it's okay to break away from when the tour is over, and check out the campus. What are people doing? What is it? What's the vibe there? Do you see yourself on that campus for 4 years? Go into the dining center, go into the student union, go to the places around the campus where students congregate, because it's really important that you feel comfortable there, and that you feel like you can find your people. That's important, to be able to
yeah.
find your people.
And it's I like how you said that, because at one point I was also considering, it was my spring 2021 semester. I was considering a transfer into UNC Charlotte for the fall 2021 semester. I think I told you about that.
Yes, we did talk about that.
Yeah, and so during that period, I had a friend who went to UNC Charlotte, and I went to go visit her to see if I liked the campus, hung out with their group of friends, see if I liked the general people that went there and stuff. And quite honestly, I enjoyed the people, but again, the area where UNC Charlotte's at, for me personally, I didn't like. Um, and so yeah, I guess that's just. I think obviously the academics and all of that is very important with college, but also the social aspect is very important. And
Mhm.
I found that out pretty roughly during my fall 2020 semester, my first freshman semester.
Yeah.
Because at UNCW, I don't know how much time we have. If I can explain this.
Yeah, you can. We have
Okay,
time.
so at UNCW, when COVID had hit, like NC State, for example, they sent them home for that semester. I think Chapel Hill, they sent them home. But UNCW had an option for students, and it was an ultimatum. They said all freshmen, can talk with your roommates and decide. One of you has to leave. You can either go somewhere else on campus and live by yourself, or you can go home. But if you go home, you get refunded for your housing, that semester.
Mhm.
So a lot of students at USCW decided to go home, and I was left in my suite. My personal roommate left, and my two suite mates also went home. So for
Okay.
my halfway through my fall 2020 semester, I essentially lived by myself in the dorm,
Ugh,
and pretty much all my friends ended up going home. I had like one friend who stayed at UNCW, and he moved across campus, so we were a lot more separate. It wasn't as easy to hang out,
yeah.
and quite frankly, it was very lonely. I didn't really have a problem with it. I mean, I enjoyed being by myself there because it was easy. My grades were phenomenal. All I did was just study. There wasn't really any social life because everybody went home.
Right.
But if I'm being honest, I don't really. It all became a blur very quickly. I
Okay.
think that happened halfway through September, and I went home in December for Christmas break. And quite frankly, I couldn't tell you what happened in October, November, or December. It just all blurred into it felt like 3 weeks.
Yeah. So you had an experience that was unprecedented. That became such a popular word during the pandemic. So it wasn't a natural experience at all. And I could not imagine that because, I think back to way back in the day when I was in college. If I had lived in my suite, so I was in one of the suites where it was ten rooms to the suite. We had the hall bathroom and stuff. If I had been in there by myself, I would have gone stir
Yeah.
crazy. I would
Um,
not have been able to do it. And then all your classes are online.
oh yeah.
Oh
So I
my
literally
goodness.
half the time I literally would just I would leave my dorm to work out, and I would leave my dorm to eat, and that's pretty much it. And like the occasional hang out with friends.
Yeah,
That's also the other thing. Like up to that point, college was great. It was fun. It was everything you expect it to be. And then that happened. They sent everybody home, and it was. I mean, it was just not even worth being there. At some points, I wish I had went back to Fayetteville to live with my parents and just hung out because all my friends were back in Fayetteville as well. So
okay.
yeah, it was quite unfortunate, but here we are.
Yeah, but you bounce back. You made a
Yeah,
decision that's working for you. So, for folks that are just joining in, we're here with Carlos Villarreal. He is a 2020 graduate of Pine Forest High School. And he's told us his story of transitioning from high school to college to UNCW, changing his major a few times, and then finally just making the decision that a 4-year degree was not what he wanted at the time, that 4-year college experience was not for him, and talking to a good family friend who owns an HVAC business, he was able to make that transition to Cape Fear Community College to their HVAC program that he will be finishing in a few weeks. So to me, that takes a lot of guts because I know how pumped you were about the whole college thing.
yeah,
Um, and I'm so thrilled that you found a place, you found something that's working for you. You just took a different pathway, and it's working for you, and that's
yeah.
fantastic.
And I want to say, although I've made all the decisions I made up to this point, first of all of my decisions were very informed on my end. For example, when I changed my major from marine bio to international business, I did an extreme amount of research on the classes offered, the possible career paths you get with international business. I said earlier, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I mean, if I would have done international business, I knew the career paths that were available to me.
Right,
I looked at all like things like study abroad, all of that. And that's when I decided to change. And again, when I changed to economics, I did a bunch of research, a lot of research on the classes I would have to like take and make sure I wasn't pushing myself back like a whole year, three,
right.
4, 5 semesters. So I did a lot of research on that. So all my decisions up to this point have been very informed. But I had to do all that work on my end. Nobody did it for me. Nobody was. If anybody has a similar path where, similar, they want to kind of. I think everybody should be very informed on the decision they're going to make, and
Mm.
nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to help you inform yourself except for you, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
no, no, you're right.
yeah, you have to take that
Students,
initiative.
you have to take ownership of your education.
Yeah,
Yes, there are academic advisors, there are support people, but you own your education.
exactly.
So you have to do that research. You have to figure it out. So for all my folks out there that are like dragging their feet on doing their research for those applications and what have you, uh, waiting for Dr. B to do it, do your research.
Yeah.
Do your research. Own your education. Yes,
And then
definitely.
secondly, even though I did drop out of college and I said, I didn't enjoy it very much, or this social aspect, I do not regret um, going to UNCW. If I had to do it all over again, I would still, because I mean, that college experience is once in a lifetime. You'll never get that. You'll never get that opportunity again. And I'm very grateful that I was able to experience everything that I did at UNCW. Um, I just decided that that type of lifestyle and
Yeah.
that path of life wasn't for me anymore. But I'm very grateful that I was able to experience all that because it's made me into the person I guess I am today.
Okay, that's really good. So, Carlos, I always ask people if they would like to talk about a book that was of interest to them. And
Yeah.
when I saw the book, I'm like, okay, this guy's getting really deep over here on me.
Yeah. The Art of Living a Meaningless Existence by Robert Pantano. I've been reading that book off and on. It's more of just like when I feel I guess, a need of guidance, I read that book. I read the because all the chapters are different. They all talk about different things. The book comes from the author, who the author has a YouTube channel called The Pursuit of Wonder, which I recommend everybody watch. All the videos are very eye opening. They help you just, kind of, if you're very like anxious or stressed out person, it may help with kind of putting into perspective a lot of things. And I don't know, I just very much love the YouTube channel. I love all the messages that that creator puts out on the internet, and so I gave his book a shot, and I've enjoyed it. Uh, you know,
Whoops,
but
I spelled it wrong. So again, it was funny because I started. I said, "Oh, let me go look at this, check this book out," and I started reading excerpts of it online, and I'm like, "Oh wow, I think I'm gonna
yeah,
have to buy this book." I actually went to see if it was at the library, but the library doesn't have it yet because the book is fairly new, I think.
yeah, it came out. I mean, he released. I saw like because I follow him on Instagram, YouTube,
Yeah.
and he released like a YouTube previews and stuff, and I think it came out like August.
Yeah,
I want to say.
so like I said, so I said, oh, let me go online and see if I can get this at the library, but they don't have it yet. But I have a feeling I'll be adding this to my collection because it sounds like it's one of those books that when you need something to help you move along, make a decision. So it's a lot of philosophical essays.
Yes,
And
yeah, essentially, yeah.
really did enjoy it. I'm gonna check out this YouTube channel too. So this is Robert Pantano's YouTube, The Pursuit of Wonder. So folks, if you want to check that out, I definitely suggest that you do that.
And I know a lot of your students are obviously young, 16, 17, 18-year olds who probably don't like to read books. And his YouTube channel, a lot of the videos are, well, the book and a lot of the like chapters and stuff are based off of things he's talked about in his YouTube. So if you don't like to read and you would rather watch something, a lot of his videos are also very insightful and can help just bring a sense of calmness or purpose or anything like that. So I would definitely recommend both of those.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely going to be checking out that YouTube channel, and full disclosure, I've already ordered the book, so it'll be here probably in a couple of days. But and I really don't need another book, but it just sounded so good.
And it's short. The book's only like 200 pages, so
Okay.
I haven't read it completely because, like I said, I read chapters as I need to,
Yeah.
and I reread chapters because obviously you forget, you have information coming at you all day, so I reread chapters a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's only 200 pages, so you could just sit down and read it in like a day if you wanted to.
Okay. And from what I've read about it, it's a series of essays about just different philosophical things. So I thought that was really really cool. So let me just really quickly on this screen show it to people. So this is the book, The Art of Living a Meaningless Existence: Ideas from Philosophy That Change the Way You Think.
Yeah.
So folks,
I
here's
think it's
another one to add to your list.
it's only $15 on Amazon, and it essentially it says philosophy, but it pulls from religions, things like, I don't know if you consider like Taoism and things like that. I guess ways of living, not really religions, but ways of living. Pulls from all of those. So
Oh, that's great. That might be a graduation present for a few people because it
yeah.
sounds
I actually
really,
have it
really
here.
good.
Look at it. I keep it under my TV.
Oh, okay.
It's
All
always
right.
just like it's always just there. If I want to just pick it up, I sit down right there on the couch and just
And
read it. So
all right. That's pretty good. Carlos, this has been so enlightening because so many young folks now are at points in their lives where they're making decisions, they're stressed about the decisions, they're feeling like these decisions have to be perfect and that there's no chance for I wouldn't call it failure, but for like pivoting. I mean, if we didn't learn anything from COVID, we all learned how to pivot
yeah,
and do something different. And I think it's so important that when we have the opportunity to leave situations that aren't filling our cups, that we do so. So I love that you were able to do that. I love the advice that Mr. Ortiz gave you.
Mm,
So again, shout out to Mr. Ortiz for being there, for being the kind of person um, that was there for a young person and was able to give you some really, really great advice on what to
exactly.
do. Yeah. So for folks that are interested in getting in touch with Carlos, or maybe want to get some more information, this is how you can reach him on Instagram. Um, so you could check him out for that. And
Yeah, if
I,
anybody has
I
questions, you can just DM me. I'll always answer. I'm down to help anybody out if you need any type of guidance or any type of advice on applications or doing your own research or things like that. So
Okay, I definitely appreciate that. Um, this has been so good because, like I said, people are just so concerned about not making a mistake
yeah,
or making what they think is a mistake, and it's not. There are lessons in every aspect of every experience that we have, and you're definitely living proof of that. And hmm, I might have to fire my old HVAC, my current HVAC person, and say, "Hey, Carlos." So that's the thing. So we've definitely got to stay in touch so that once you get out there and start doing this work, if I can't use you personally, I would love to be able to recommend you to other people.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Definitely, definitely. So again, folks, thank you so much for joining in with us this evening. If you're not watching this live and you're watching it on the replay, please still put in your comments because we'll still be responding to the comments. And I so appreciate all of you being here because it's important that we get this information out because we want to help our young folks. We want to make sure that our young folks feel comfortable in their decisions and are able to make informed decisions. So if you're not out there doing your research, you need to get out there and do it. Next week, I'm thrilled to announce that another one of my former students that Carlos actually knows, Nicholas Amy, will be here
Okay,
next week. Um, who is now in his junior year at Wake Forest, and he will come and speak to us about his transition to college. So it was he went through
that's
that whole COVID period as Carlos did. Um,
that's a great contrast. 'Cause I know he's doing very well in college, and he has like a, I've followed him on Instagram, so I see like he's like doing great in college. He's like, I'm sure he's gonna be a politician or something one day.
so again, so this is great. So Carlos, again, thank you so much. I so
Yeah,
appreciate you being here. I'm going to end this in a minute, but I just want you to stay on in the background. Again,
okay.
folks, join us next Monday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I know with this time change, it gets dark a little bit earlier, but I thank all of you for being here. And again, if anyone is looking for college and career counseling, if you need someone to guide your student through that post-secondary transition, please reach out. Contact me, Dr. B. There is my email. You can also reach me on Instagram. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me on LinkedIn. So there are multiple ways that you can reach me. So I thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And again, Carlos, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. Good night, everyone.